Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Ruben again with another hot topic for you to digest, not just because it's the month of June and it's sweltering, blistering hot outside, but also because the topic itself, as everything I present here with these videos, is controversial. And the hot topic tonight, is Pride Month. June is officially known as the month that is dedicated to a non-stop celebration of the transgender, homosexual, bisexual, queer, whatever you want to call it, movement. The community of people who have banded together to announce publicly and proclaim how proud they are to, let's put it frankly, to be sexually confused. I've been thinking about this for a couple of days now. I work at a company, as probably you do, that waves a flag, a rainbow flag, celebrating and promoting and advocating, supporting this this ideology, this movement. And I've been thinking about that. Like, what is the obsession? What is the eagerness with wanting so desperately to announce with a flag over your company, over your facility, whatever it is that's going on? What is the desperation? What is the why are we so wanting to fly this flag of the LGBTQ plus X, Y, and Z, W, whatever community, telling the whole world, hey, I'm behind you. Hey, I support you as a homosexual. I sympathize with you. I'm behind you, and I will not discriminate against you. And all these things that the movement is probably supposed to symbolize. Why do we do it? Why are we so eager to do that? And I come up with a couple of answers. I did a Google search on Pride Month and where it originated and why it's here and where it started and all the good things that come with rational research. It started as a celebration back in the 60s, late 60s, the Stonewall riots that took place. Police went into this gay club and raided it, and the gay community's protesting, and it got ugly, and it just spiraled out of control. And here we are, several decades later, with a month dedicated to celebrating this group of people. Now, in researching and taking notes, just kind of writing things down, typing things to myself, I started thinking, like, what is so important to us who are not LGBTQ plus X, Y, and Z, WX / whatever they want to call themselves. What is so important to us who aren't a part of that group that we want to publicly endorse them and get behind them? Maybe it's political pressure. Maybe it's the fear of being labeled a bigot or a homophobe or whatever, which is ridiculous on its own merits, because there is no such thing as a homophobe. Like, I'm afraid of homosexual. That's silly. I'm against homosexuality, but I'm not afraid of them, so why would I be called a homophobe? I'm against getting behind the wheel and drinking under the influence of alcohol. Does that make me a drunkophobe? Does that make me an alcohol phobe? I'm against, men, women having sex with minors. Am I a pedophobe? Like, it's stupid. And that just proves how much these people hijack language, redefine words, and use it in their favor against people like us. But anyway, aside from that, what is the motive behind people who aren't a part of that community to want to so desperately flaunt their support? And again, I mentioned it can be, fear of rejection, fear of being labeled and whatnot. But I thought about this too. I thought about what we're actually doing when we fly our flags and we tell this community, hey, I'm behind you and I got your back and I won't judge you and you're just as valuable as I am, which all that is true, mind you. And I started writing some notes down, and I want to share them with you. I put here, bear with me real quick, homosexuality and all the sexual deviancies that fall under that umbrella naturally result in three things. Okay? Let me read that again. Homosexuality and all the sexual deviancies that fall under that umbrella naturally result in three things: shame, guilt, and the fear of rejection. Now, you can call it what you want. When a person engages in abnormal behavior, then by design, God has put it inside the human heart that when you do abnormal things, you will feel guilt, you will feel shame, you will feel the fear of being rejected by others who might find out that you're doing something bad. Those are natural consequences. Fearing being rejected, having the guilt, and having the shame. Those are natural consequences. But what isn't normal, the consequences of those things are normal, but what isn't normal, I keep on here in my notes, is condemning people who pursue those sexual deviancies. In other words, while they engage in those things, their consciences are going to be pricked. They're going to have guilt, shame, and regret and whatnot, and that's normal. But what we don't do is judge them and condemn them and treat them badly and diminish their worth as a human being. Like, we don't do those things. We actually sympathize and we express, our support to want to help them through that. So I started thinking, a large part of why Pride Month exists, contrary to everything you hear from, corporate America, the media machine, like one of the main things that we do when we celebrate Pride Month, watch what I wrote right here, is not to abolish discrimination in the workplace, although that is a noble thing to do. But the main thing that we do when we celebrate Pride Month is we want to normalize sexual deviancy. That's number one. We also want to suppress the natural shame and guilt that results from abnormal sexual behavior. And number three, we want to make normal what is abnormal. In short, I put here, we want to abolish the bad feelings that come from bad behavior. And that's wrong on so many levels. One of the examples that I was sharing with my wife earlier this evening was, imagine, I don't know, another form of sexual deviancy, masturbating in public. Let's say, a group of people began to want to, masturbate in public, but they're afraid because they know that it's wrong and there's guilt and shame associated with that despicable act of masturbating in public. They'd be discriminated against in the workplace. They would be, called all kinds of names, perverts, and you guys are criminal and you're evil and you're wicked and all that stuff that comes with it. But imagine for a moment that a movement was begun at a political level, at a social level, at a corporate level. Let's say a movement was begun to help these perverts who want to masturbate in public do away with the guilt and shame that comes with that. What if a movement was begun to want to suppress the pricking conscience, shut up the conscience, and to embrace those people and make them a functioning, normal part of society and show them that it's okay to masturbate in public. We support you. We're behind you. We won't discriminate against you. Imagine if that type of movement was begun. Sounds kind of crazy, right? You're thinking, no, but you're comparing apples and oranges. No, I'm not. This analogy is very, very fitting because the common denominator between the person who wants to masturbate in public and these LGBTQ, XYZ, WX, whatever, the common denominator is sexual deviancy, is abnormal sexual behavior that is not fitting for someone who was created in the image of God. That's the bottom line. That's the common denominator, where you have people who are committing sexual acts that are against the natural order, that are against God's design, and they create those acts, guilt, shame, fear of rejection. That's the common denominator. So the movement that we celebrate so flagrantly once a year during the month of June is we're celebrating the deviancy. We're celebrating the confusion. We're celebrating the abnormal sexual behavior of a small group of people under the banner of civil rights, under the banner of, anti-discriminatory policies in the workplace, under the banner of sympathy and compassion and love is love, and under the banner of we're not going to judge you. But that's hogwash. They're misnomers, as a matter of fact, because when we begin to celebrate the sexual deviant behaviors of certain people to make them feel better about themselves and assure them that they're not going to be turned away from a job, which shouldn't happen anyways. When we do that, there is probably an unintended effect, or maybe it is intended. And the effect is this, is that the movements begin to normalize the abnormal. We turn the bad and we make it good. That's what's happening. And if the group of people who wanted to masturbate in public wanted to do the same thing, we'd be like, oh no, that's crazy. Why? Because and you probably run out of answers. Because again, the common denominator is sexual deviancy, abnormal sexual behavior that produces guilt and shame and the fear of rejection. But with the LGBTQ plus X, Y, and Z / semicolon plus sign, what we're doing with them is we're creating a class of people and telling them, hey, it's okay. You don't have to feel bad that you're sexually deviant. To the transgenders, you don't have to feel guilt and shame over your confusion of who you really are. We're going to embrace that, and we're going to quote unquote affirm that. Come on over, we'll make you feel better. And that's the bottom line. There it is. The movements are designed to make people feel better about the bad decisions they're making regarding the abnormal behaviors they've embraced. But those bad feelings, guilt, shame, fear, rejection, those are natural consequences that God has put in the human heart. Yet, through these movements, we're saying, man, forget those feelings. Come on in. It's quite all right. Okay, I'll come on in. And we embrace them. And we legitimize the illegitimacy of their behavior. Just as we would the people who wanted to masturbate in public. Hey, it's okay, pervert. Come on in. It's going to be okay. We won't judge you. Because, again, the common denominator is abnormal sexual behavior. And that's what I've been thinking about. This Pride Month, these corporations, these companies, they're eager to adopt policies, anti-discriminatory policies, which is nonsense because even before the movement's begun, we're not supposed to do those things anyways. All people, from a biblical perspective, are created in the image of God and possess infinite worth as human beings, regardless of their sexual preference, regardless of their skin color. Like, none of that matters in the Bible. What matters is you are an image bearer. You were created in the image of God, and you have inherent and infinite worth.